today we have a special guest. We invited Sabrina Atkins. And Sabrina has a very rare characteristic. She treats big athletes while being a very smaller individual. So you are 5'1", correct? And you treat people which are on an average 7 feet tall.
About.
And you do it with gusto, charm, everybody's happy, and they love your treatment. So to do that, she has an approach, very systemic. She cannot improvise. She really has to have a specific technique to do that. And why I'm interested in Mrs. Atkins is because that approach, it's exactly what we need if we want to be efficient, if we want to protect our patient, and if we want to have outstanding results. So today, I hope she is going to give us a little demonstration of what she did, or what she does on a regular basis with the Magic in Orlando, because it's the NBA team that she treats for 14 years, correct?
14 years.
14 years, that's a long time. So, and then later on, we may detail a little bit the mechanical aspect behind those treatments and what it entails and what should be changed, adapted in relation to the morphology of the doctor, you, the morphology of the patient, big tall guy, and the equipment that we have. So let's go. We have brought today a big Canadian dude. He's not as tall as you treat usually, but I think he's 6'6" or something like that. So it should be enough for you to give us a good demonstration.
Yeah. All right. This is Johnson.
Hello.
Nice to see you. All right, I'm going to have you sit at the foot of the table, facing the wall there. And for this, so he's just sitting at the foot with his feet flat on the floor. I'm going to start with the upper thoracic and then move to the mid-thoracic and then to the lower thoracic. And I'll show variations on when there's more of a kyphotic curvature versus more of just a straight thoracic spine. So the first thing you do is bring your hands locked behind your neck. It's called surrender posture. And then I come really close to them, let their elbows go in like this. And the first one is where they just drop back. I call it sort of like a trust fall. So it gives them that feeling of what it feels like to let their body go and relax. Because most people want to try to help you or keep their weight off of you. Now this, because it's specifically for the upper thoracic, I'm going to roll him forward and then get really close. My body's touching his body. And then as I come up, I let him come all the way back, and I'm more in that upper thoracic. And then when I'm there, I'm going to be able to get that upper thoracic specifically. And then come back up. And I use the same, you okay?
Yeah. Good.
I use the same technique for the middle right here, only my knees aren't going to slide as high. So lock your fingers behind your neck again. And we've got two different variations of the middle one. So you'll drop back. I use the towel simply to make my arms longer. That's the only purpose of the towel. It gives me that leverage that I need so I can come close to him and keep that torque. I have him bent more this time. My knees are right in the mid-thoracic. And this time it's just going to be more of a straight back pull, like this. To go lower thoracic, I bend him even further forward, and then when he comes up, he's going to have to aid me a little bit, so just lean back, and it pulls up like this. The upper thoracic, he had to come back further. The mid-thoracic, he folded more, but I came directly in, kind of like on the plane lines of the disc, and then in the lower thoracic, my vector was more superior. It was more anterior superior versus directly anterior. The two different variations when someone has a little bit more of a kyphotic thoracic spine versus a straight thoracic spine. When it's more kyphotic, I do more of an axial decompression versus a kyphotic pull. And when they're straight thoracic, I do the opposite. I bring them into even more of a kyphosis. The interesting thing about when there is a kyphotic spine is you find a lot of anterior segments here in the upper thoracic. So pulling them more kyphotic, you're going to be able to drop back and make these anterior ones drop how they need to go. So I'll show you a little variation. Now, the one, let me show you those two first, and then I'll show you the arm variations. So bring your hands behind your neck again. Your neck is still okay?
Yes.
Okay. So you're going to bring him in. So if he's really kyphotic, and he's got a couple of upper thoracic anterior segments, I'm going to come into that mid-thoracic. And from there, I'm already pulling more superior like this, and I feed the segments that way. If he's more flat, I obviously do the opposite. So I keep him pulled in more kyphotic, and I try to bring it back. The action is reverse. So when he's kyphotic with anteriors up top, I stabilize and then I drop these back by pushing this one forward. When he's more straight and I want to create more kyphosis, usually we're going to be working a little bit lower. So we'll lock right here again. And the way that feels and the way that looks is we bring him forward again. So now I'm trying to bring him into more of a kyphosis. So I bring his elbows in tight and I pull him more this way. So it's really locking that in and bringing that lower thoracic spine out. Arm variation on this usually happens a couple of different scenarios, either when they have a really tight neck and they don't have that mobility, or they don't have shoulder mobility and they can't get their hands behind their neck and surrender or hostage pose. I'll have them cross their arms. And of course, just as Dr. DeBerry teaches, I do it for them first, so relax your arms. And that just helps get more thoracic tension, thoracic torque. I still use the towels because I'm still 5'1". And I just make my arms longer. Now on this one, they have to actively tuck their head more. The principles are the same with everything I've already shown. The only difference is with the arms crossed, they're not having to put their hands behind their head. So they have to actively engage their neck more on that one, so that in some cases when we have to drop back heavy to create more of like that drop action, they don't get their head whipped back. So they have to really engage that a lot. Good.
Okay, Sabrina, I think it's very interesting for me to look at what you do here, because your size, well, been to it. Sit down. Your size forces you to do things a certain way.
Yeah.
Now, what I like in your presentation, it's you really are using the arc of tension. Basically, you have named them kyphoses, but what you're doing in reality, when you're having bent forward, you're creating a tension on the posterior longitudinal ligament. Right. And your knee is going to go in an area and create what we call a segmental extension, relaxing that ligament, so your pull will come in mostly in the area where the ligaments are relaxed. And that will basically do the trick for you and allow to not use much force and to treat the patient much more comfortable. So, and I think the fact that you came here is great for me, because I saw you practicing and I just said, down, this colleague of mine is using something with a name. She used a system that we know, kyphosis, but the mechanism is the same. And it's what's great about with the arc of tension, it's a mechanism is adaptable to anyone. Just basically, it's just thinking a little bit more biomechanical.